Hello and welcome to another unnecessary criticism. I'm watching this at 1.5 speed because I figured that would allow us to go through these things faster. Although I'm thinking 1.5 might be a little too fast. Let's go down to 125 because I'm not that smart. But yeah, this is another Scott's Word episode. I don't know if I am pronouncing that correctly. But we're getting a sort of a normal setup here in terms of what you see in the meta, um, which is really the only way to refer to something as normal or abnormal, because sometimes what works could vary very differently. I mean, obviously there are setups that are bad, starting all four hunters in Cagliari. That would be bad. Uh, but um, don't think that just because my setup is what I say that anything other than that is abnormal. Um, this I picked this episode to do a criticism on mostly because I like the meme on it. If you guys don't follow Scott Sword or watch his videos, you should. And he makes funny memes on each of his videos, which is more than I can do, because I am a lazy man. Working on the horse economy here. Ooh, that's a good poll. Since Godleming has one white ticket, he's going to need to move Godleming to Mina or Mina to Godleming in order to trade away that white ticket. Because you actually really don't want Godleming to have a white ticket. Because it really, when you're going for horse economy especially, because it really inhibits the ability for him to use his privileged ability where he draws two tickets. And part of that is because it's a required ability. He has to draw the two tickets. And so if one of your inventory slots is basically dedicated to holding onto that white one, forcing yourself to draw two tickets is basically like you only draw one ticket now. Because if the first draw you get what you want, since you don't want to discard that white one, you then just have to discard the ticket that you drew and hope that you draw it again. Um, and that's not good because you want to use your abilities to the best of your ability. This is one of those games where you really have to try to use every single ability as well as you can in order to have a chance to win, which I think is good design. Yeah, he's doing the move, which is the correct thing. He needs to trade that white one away. Um, yeah, especially since there's no there's nothing in Space 3. He misdirected the starting location. And so because of that, doing a day supply, if you got newspaper reports, would be slightly less valuable. Um, so yeah, as much as I say you want to supply every day in the first week, a move can sometimes be a good idea, especially in this kind of circumstance. And, you're going to want to move Mina to Godleming or Godleming to Mina. Yeah, you're losing a day action, but it's kind of worth it. Yeah, so he traded the white one away. He's trading the bad items, quote unquote, to Godleming because it's this sort of the same principle behind the tickets. If he has all good items, then if he draws two more good items, then that's a waste. You want him to have the bad items, so when he draws the two good items, he can go, oh, great, I can now discard said item. Or discard the bad items. So yeah. Apparently, the name of this video is called "Why Did I Do That?" So I guess we'll get to guess and see what we think the big mistake is going to be. Not seeing anything so far, although I'm still acclimating to this new speed of gameplay. I may have to pause, but I'm trying out new things to try to get more videos out. I'm a little late in getting this one out. Again, because I'm lazy. That's a pretty good draw. He'll probably want to lose the garlic and the bullets. That'd be me, although I can understand losing the others. Although, yeah, I don't know about that. Evil Presence, not going to pick anything up. You don't really want to draw it early, although the threat of it can be nice. I still think starting in Madrid is a good idea. Just to eliminate it. It's more of a Vice setup. I think starting in Madrid in this build-up is really good, although there's an argument for having a setup where there's really obvious places for Dracula to go, and then you can scan those. Oh, this is a pretty good get. Okay, that is a way of thinking. And I don't even necessarily think it's wrong. It's just I prefer to do something more reliable. This is a good setup. This is an efficient way of scanning the map, an efficient way of getting newspaper, of getting the things that you need. And one of the tools to that is newspaper reports. That's my whole strategy. Is I want to do things that are as reliable as possible. That's why horse economy I'm such a big fan of, because you can craft the deck to make the horse economy draws very, very reliable, and even perfectly reliable if you happen to draw all of the cards, all of the tickets that you need. So yeah, he has a big choice here. He's doing the math on if he can actually get to Bari. Godleming's well suited. Mina is also well suited. They're both really good for dealing with. I didn't get the draw there. They're both in really good positions for dealing with vampire encounters. Very likely we'll be able to get to Bari before, let's see, move there, moves to 57, moves there, moves to the ocean. Yeah, so if she just does individual moves, she will be able to get to 5 before that happens. And that's if she goes the ocean route. But he'll probably keep rolling for those horse tickets. Pretty unfortunate not getting the draw there. He must have. Yep, that's the thing that's going to need to. He must have gotten unlucky. From what I'm seeing, he seems to be holding on to a lot of those bad tickets. Yeah, just like Quark referring to the newspaper reports. I mean, yeah. Okay, so a dark call this early when you're revealed. Yeah, that can work. Especially if you don't have fog. I think it can make sense. You might want to get more defensive cards. And given that he started in Bari and he's obviously moving up towards the boot, a move by him would actually move him closer to Hunters. So I can totally understand being like, I don't want to move closer to Hunters. I want to stay as far away from the Hunters as possible, so I'm going to Dark Call. So yeah, that actually makes sense to me. Will he have time to feed and heal that back? We'll see. He may not. Interesting supply here from Godleming. I think it might have been better to move in, although obviously getting renewed vigor is very good. Now, the supply here from Seward makes sense because you really don't want Garlic Wreath. The dogs you might want. Ooh, Heroic Leap. See, that changes the calculus entirely. Now that he has Heroic Leap, totally wants to go at it. An early Heroic Leap, very good. A late Heroic Leap is good. Heroic Leap is just good. And Heroic Leap on Seward is actually, well, there's 2 ways to look at it. 1, it's good because it can heal quickly. 2, it's bad because generally you want Heroic Leap on your bad Hunters. Okay, so he's used hired scouts, I think that was, to reveal Dracula. So this becomes interesting. What does Dracula do? Dracula probably feeds next turn. That's what I would guess. So he didn't even try the horses. So the reason why he's not trying the horses is that if he moves down to 20, if he moves to Florence, Dracula theoretically could wolf form over them, although I don't think that's that bad. The thing about Italy is when you wolf form, given its linear shape, you're not really increasing the number of possible locations that you could be to a very significant degree. Whereas wolf forming in Central Europe, absolutely devastating, or France, or even Austrio-Hungry. It can be very, very devastating. Although less so in Eastern Europe because there's that bottleneck that's around 58, 59, 38. And usually, wow, that was a lot of cards in the discard pile. And usually Dracula's going to have to go through there. So even with a wolf form, you can explore that area and then be like, okay, he's no further west than here. Now we can move into Eastern Europe and take him out. Although that's hard to do if your horses aren't up to snuff. And it's also when Chartered Carriage can be very useful, although not necessarily quite as useful as you think. Now, you might think fast-tracking Lucy's Revenge to Godleming here doesn't make a lot of sense, because, like, surely, Van Helsing has better things to do. But that's not true, because Van Helsing actually has the tickets that he wants. He has a white one, and then he has a non-horse ticket in his inventory. And, given that they've found Dracula, they actually might get an early fight with Dracula. And that's when something like Lucy's Revenge is actually very, very, very useful. Because an early escapist bat can be really devastating. It almost resets the game in terms of we don't know where Dracula is, especially if it's followed up by a wolf form, which could be done in this circumstance. So because of that, Lucy's Revenge can be really useful in preventing that escape. Now, if he can get a 2-on-1 against Dracula, that'd be really good. He probably won't, partially because he's going to see that. So I think I might have fed there. I think that might have been the better move. Because I don't think you'll be able to get 2v1'd here. A 1v1 early can actually be really good for Dracula. Now, obviously, Dracula doesn't know the hands of the hunters. Although he should know Mina's hand. Hold on, we'll see if he shows Mina's hand. Because Mina's really the only person who would theoretically be able to get to him. Because we've seen horses on Mina. And because we've seen horses on Mina, we know that she only has at most 2 other combat cards. Now, in reality, she only has 1 other combat card. So, yeah, I think a feed might have been better there, or a hide. Well, no, not a hide because you're revealed, and if you're revealed when you hide, you don't get to put down an encounter. Rufus Smith coming out at the absolute perfect time. Yeah, see if... Yeah, so I would have stayed on land. Ocean, you lose a whole lot going to Ocean. You don't just lose your hit points, you also lose the ability to put down encounters, which is huge because there's no threat of them maturing. And you don't get to cycle your encounters as fast. You give the hunters a lot of time to stay in place and day supply. Like, for example, Godleming should just stick around in day supply. Seward should just stick around in day supply. And just get more events. Well, no, not Godleming. Godleming actually, what is that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9? Wow, that's a lot of Dracula cards being discarded. Godleming should help take care of the encounters, since he has a stake. But that's good value. If Dracula's landing, especially if he's landing early, and there's no encounters to deal with, that's just free damage. The hunters are going to find Dracula again. They have enough tricks in their book, especially if they're sitting around waiting for Dracula to come to land. Now, sometimes it's still worth it to do it, and obviously I think going to sea here was a necessity at this point. I will say the setup was a little bit against Dracula's favor, and some of that is Dracula's fault. Because, he started in Bari, and he was literally moving towards the hunters. It can be hard to figure out a path that doesn't move you towards the hunters. That's why I'm a fan of starting in somewhere like 37 or 36 and moving down the boot of Italy, and then you're moving away from them. But again, anytime you do anything super, super obvious, it becomes predictable. So there's an element of picking a suboptimal thing and then not doing it. That's also why I'm at the most... Oh, he landed immediately. Is he in Cagliari? At most, you want to be moving laterally. Moving into a location that's just as close to the hunters as the previous location that you were at. But moving toward the hunters, you're basically doing the hunter's job for you. Again, to an extent, you want to be unpredictable, but it's more complicated than that. Yeah, I don't know why he landed immediately. He might be going for a one-on-one, which he can use his escape as bad at. Ooh, he's at Genoa. Okay, so yeah, this is a good time for Lucy's Revenge to come out. You definitely want to prevent that escape as bad. I don't think he'll be able to... No, he's not going to be able to get there. Now, what he probably wants to do is to move to 54 with Seward. I mean, that's what I would do. What he does not want to do, and I really hope he doesn't do this, he does not want to move to 36. That would be a very bad move, and it looks like he's going to move to 36. Okay, so here's why you don't want to move to 36. Wolf form is still off cooldown. If he wolf forms, he's going to go probably the furthest distance, and when that happens, what you want to do as the hunters is check all the furthest locations to create a net that you can hem in on. By allowing him to do a wolf form, he's like giving Dracula the opportunity to slip that net. So yeah, didn't want to move to 36. Definitely wants to play Lucy's Revenge here, yes. because that can prevent an escape. And it's so early. I mean, there's going to be, and Dracula might still escape. Now he does have a cancel to a bat. The fangs is there. The heavenly host is the obvious play. Or knife would be good, or dodge or punch. They're all good options. I would probably go heavenly host here. Um, Heavenly Host against a Fangs would be the worst possible result. I mean, you would be able to cancel it with a. You would be able to cancel it with the Lucy's Revenge, but Godalming would be removed from the fight. Yeah, he's reading. He wants to know the specific effects of it. Cancels both of the escape. Yeah, so he could have played the Heavenly Host, done the damage. Using up the strengths makes sense. I think. Maybe he's thinking here he goes Heavenly Host because he thinks Dracula is going to go for the bat or the escape is missed. I don't think I would go knife here. Yeah, this is interesting. When to play Heavenly Host is a lot. There's a lot of psychology in it. Now with Godalming, a good Dracula is probably going to assume you have a Heavenly Host. Although this is pretty if it's late in the game because he draws twice as many items, so the chances of him getting a Heavenly Host twice as much. So he's probably trying to counteract the thinking of that, like, oh, I'm going to go knife, and then I can hit his fangs. And that, I think, makes a lot of sense. He used up a strength, so the chance of his knife getting broken here doesn't make it pretty low. And fangs and what's the other one? Fangs and escape his bat are both two good plays here. Obviously, it didn't work because Mesmerize made sense as a play because he already used up his punch. So, yeah, the dodge here makes sense because he's probably afraid of the Fang counterattack. And by revealing his knife, he makes Dracula theoretically, a little more scared to use his escapes, or his fangs for that matter. Okay, so that's a good interaction. Still would have been better play Heavenly Host. Now the strengths are gone, and one of the mesmerizes is gone. So there's a lot of opportunity. I actually wouldn't play Heavenly Host here, yeah, because a lot of his don't play Heavenly Host. Don't play Heavenly Host. Heavenly Host was good to play in those other times. He used up both of his strengths and one of his mesmerizes. Oh, he's gonna play Fangs. He's so totally gonna play Fangs here. The chances of him having Fangs goes up the longer it goes. He has health taken out. Now his knife is off cooldown, so maybe he's banking on that. What did I say? I promise. Actually, I don't promise. I am stating that I have not seen this, but yeah. The knife would have been fine there, obviously. Even a punch would have been good. But yeah, that feels pretty rough. But I hope you guys understand the reason why. I mean, obviously it's easy after the fact to be like, oh, of course Heavenly Host was a bad play there because he played Fangs. No, but you need to understand why Fangs was such a good play there. Fangs was a good play there even if he didn't know that he had Heavenly Host. Fangs was a good play because he had lost most of his strengths. The escape his bat was pretty unlikely because it was just going to be canceled anyway. So he needed some sort of defensive thing, and Fangs is actually reasonably defensive in the sense that it heals you. So it's an even trade against any weapon, except for the knife. And, yeah, okay, it's like, hey, I have a knife, don't play Fangs, because I'm obviously going to go with the knife. Maybe, but that's a lot of levels of, like, whatever the Vizzini Game of Wits levels is, oh, he's going to think that I'm going to play the knife, and he's going to try to counter that, so I'm going to try to counter that. You have to be... That can make an element of sense, but just in terms of raw statistics, he'd lost both of his strengths. He had lost one of his mesmerizes, which means he only had one more defensive card. It was Mesmerize, and they had Fangs, which was reasonably defensive, and there's two of those. It was more likely he was going to play Fangs, so the statistics were against it. Now, yeah, sometimes you do want to go against the statistics to be tricky, and you want to pay attention to how people play their cards, and over time you can start figuring out. You had both surely I would use knife. Yeah, so he's thinking, oh, surely you were expecting me to use the knife there because I baited out both of your strengths. That's sort of this assumption that Dracula is going to be aggressive, and some Draculas do play aggressive. And if you're noticing Draculas who play aggressive in that way, uh, do understand that. Um, but generally, you want to play defensive, and Fangs is still it's still generally a more defensive play. And also understand that Draculas don't always have every card. In fact, they rarely have every card. And you're going to assume Godleming has a Heavenly Host. Even if it's early, he has more likelihood to have a Heavenly Host, so Fangs against him is a good play. But, it easily could have gone the other way. I still think an earlier Heavenly Host would have made more sense. Maybe not as the first play, but obviously, as we saw in this fight, it would have worked in the first play, it would have worked in the second play. You're really playing with fire the longer you wait to play Heavenly Host. Especially since a lot of his other really good cards had been used up, both of his strengths and his mesmerizes. And when you're seeing those kinds of cards coming out, you need to be thinking, oh, Dracula's playing defensive. This is a defensive style Dracula, which most Draculas are. But in this case, yeah, he's being defensive. And so you need to think, what's the other defensive card he would use when he uses up his 2 strengths and one of his mesmerizes? Oh, it's Fangs. Fangs does a little bit of everything. The aggressive play is Claws or Plotting. Yeah, Plotting is actually an aggressive card. And, understand that. Now, of course, he didn't take the bite because he used Lucy's Revenge, but bites don't do that much anyway, so not taking a bite doesn't lose you much. Ooh, a second horses. He's going to want to hold on to that, which he is doing properly, which is good. Hopefully he can get an opportunity to trade that to somebody. Godleming makes sense. This is an interesting choice on which of those to land in, 27 or 2. Obviously, if you have horses, 2 is better. If you're trying to go to the western side of Europe. Why is... Oh, I guess he already checked... Oh, yeah, right. He staked an aristocratic vampire in Bari. Okay. It's going to be a little tricky going for Naples. She doesn't have a weapon, so she could take a reasonable amount of damage here. He's reserving a ticket. That's interesting. Although I think I understand it. Since Dracula's in Genoa, and he moved adjacent to Genoa, it means he's either in 37 or in 57. Now, Dracula didn't wolf form. Wait, no, Dracula hasn't moved yet. What am I saying? Yeah, Dracula's gonna move now. Okay, yeah, so I think trading for Heroic Leap makes sense. Even though I had said, oh, it's really good on Seward because he heals faster. Well, okay, in a sense it's good on Seward because he heals faster, but other people are really bad on one-on-ones. Mina and Van Helsing are bad on one-on-ones. Seward is really good in one-on-ones, and so is Godleming, because Godleming has so much health. So you generally want to trade Heroic Leap to the people who have trouble with one-on-ones. And at least that's my thinking. Okay, so this is actually not so bad. Yeah, just take the damage. And then she'll have to deal with Rome, which will probably be another nothing. So you could risk a mature there. And having the mob mature, for example, is not that big of a deal. We'll probably see a wolf form here, followed up maybe by a feed. Yeah. It would be pretty strange if he didn't wolf form here. Although he might not. He might not think that he can get gotten by everybody. I mean, Mina's still having to deal with his trail. So, yeah. He's misdirecting. Misdirecting Genoa. Yeah, that makes sense. Because that will... It'll make it where they theoretically have to check that location. Although... I don't know. I don't know about that misdirect. I mean, it's adding value to an extent, but he might want to save that misdirect. And they're still going to check the outer lying locations first, and then close in on Genoa, because Genoa, which is 25, doesn't have a bunch of other routes that it can go. So him going back to Genoa, he's just going to run into him anyway. So it makes sense to do here because there wasn't an encounter on it. Although there is an argument to be said for leaving it, letting it mature, because it's a high traffic zone. Putting an encounter on a high traffic zone, generally a good idea, even if it's rats. If it's a high traffic zone like Paris or Genoa or Vienna or Munich, and it's rats, you can sometimes hit a lot of hunters with that, because that card keeps going off. Renewed Vigor, yeah, I can understand that, especially since it did Mole Form. My goodness. So yeah, if this goes well for the hunters, they could... Okay, so did he play Speedy Telegraph? If he did, what he actually probably wants to do... I wish Speedy Telegraph, when combined with Renewed Vigor, let you do one action and the one action, but no, it doesn't quite work that way. Because then you could have Seward go to 25, Godalming go to 25, and then Seward trade the horses to Godalming and let Godalming move. Although that's still not very efficient. Yeah, it's just better to check the things. So yeah, he'll want to check 37. Although, did he play Speedy Telegraph? I think he should have played Speedy Telegraph. Because he can move Seward, who's actually the important character for revealing his location. So we'll see what this reveals. Okay. So he went to 57, unless I've been not paying attention. Losing the stake makes sense, because he's at the point where, well, no, you still need to be staking vampires. Maybe he's just thinking I can really get him this time. I would use the horses. Okay, alright. Well, so he can't be in 60. He didn't misdirect. He misdirected Genoa. Yeah, so he had to go to... Ooh, that was not a good move. No, he had to go to Venice, which means he actually has to be in 38. Which I guess he didn't want to run in on a one-on-one, but he could have totally gone in there and have Heroic Leap traded to him, and then Heroic Leaps Dracula, who's at what, 11 health? That brings him down to 6 health. Ooh, boy, yeah, that's a really good move. That's huge value there. Okay, this is sort of the same thing, but go to 38. He has to be in 38 unless he... so I understand what he's doing here. He wants to trade the horses. That's good for long-term play. But I think the Heroic Leap would have been better. So since he's at 38, what you want to do is move to things that are 2 spaces away. So I would actually move to 30? Okay. This would make sense if he was currently in Dracula's location, but he's not. See, I wouldn't trade the planned ambush right now. What if Van Helsing ends up being the person who fights Dracula? Or Mina? I guess you're saying, okay, Van Helsing would be able to use the Heroic Leap. I like holding on to combat cards for when the combat actually happens, and then Van Helsing can trade them. That only really doesn't go off if Mina's the one who discovers it, because she moves last, but if you're playing really good, that's actually very rarely going to happen. Newer players tend to have Mina get into a lot of 1v1s, because they're thinking, oh, my objective is to catch Dracula. No, your objective is to catch Dracula 2 or more hunters on the same turn. It's actually pretty important that you understand that. There are exceptions, obviously, if you have Heroic Leap, or if you have just a really decked out hunter, which usually has to be John Seward. But most of the time, you really want to avoid 1v1s, or if it's like really late in the game and Dracula's pretty weak, then you can, go for a 1v1. Yeah, that's a good trade, and it'll work well. But yeah, generally, I would say maybe 80% of the time, you want to avoid 1v1s. And so if you have Mina and you're like, ooh, I'm pretty sure this will move into his location, you really actually don't want to do that move. It's better to have her do something else. And that's one reason why I actually really like her to be on vampire staking duty, if you can do it. Generally, what will end up happening is Godalming will have to be the one to stake vampires, just because he tends to draw more items and more stakes, and if he uses a bunch of items to take care of vampires, he can get the items back, and that's just sort of generally how the flow of the game goes. This is fine. Having Mina take care of Fog, absolutely what you want Mina to be doing. How did he heal back? Oh, right, the Fangs healed him for 2. Yeah, I forgot. Still, Heroic Leap would still be good. Getting me down to 8. That's almost half health, and that's pretty significant. So yeah, and oh goodness, now Dracula is going to be able to wolf form from 38. Yeah, you hate to see it. That's going to be a pretty wasted, pretty wasted renewed vigor, which like that's huge. Wasting your A and S tier cards, and yeah, renewed vigor is an S tier card. Wasting that or consecrated ground really sets you back because you're going to get a number of now it could be just anywhere. You're going to get a number of your S tier cards that are super powerful. You have to use those to win the game. Your cards win the game for you. You just can't afford to waste those kind of things. Now I got some value out of it, and you always get some value out of renewed vigor, but you really want to get maximum value out of those really good cards. Some of the other ones, like Speedy Telegraph or Planned Ambush, you're not going to get a ton of value out of, and you just want to use it when you want to use it. And Money Trail is the kind of card where, if you're in a situation where, see, he was in Munich, like I said. If you're in a situation where you can use Money Trail and it gives you a significant amount of value, e.g., it's not the first ocean move, but the second or third ocean move, you usually might as well use it, because there might not be another circumstance where you can use it. And I have similar thoughts on Hypnosis. Not that there won't be other circumstances where it's useful, but what you need to do when looking at Hypnosis is ask the question, is this going to be useful in terms of buying me more day actions? Because sometimes using Hypnosis only gets you like 1 or 2 more day actions. And at that point, I think it's actually really not worth it. And that's one reason I compare it a lot to Money Trail. Well, no, that's not a reason I compare it, but you need to compare it to Money Trail and think, how much am I saving by not having to check the locations where I don't know where he is if I use Hypnosis here? And you have to run that analysis based on what is every single city where Dracula could be right now. And yeah, that's a really hard analysis to do. Welcome to Fury of Dracula. It's all about math. Turns out you thought you were playing a fun vampire hunting game. No, you were learning calculus. Well, maybe not calculus. I don't know much about calculus. I'm a dumb man. So 7's not a good play because he couldn't be there, actually, for with a wolf form. Now, maybe he's thinking he can head him off. I still think going to 3 would be better. What he's probably thinking of is, he's probably deep into Austrio-Hungry, so I need to really check that, and it's going to take a long time to get there. It's not going to take as long as you think, because you can use Godleming to a horse over to 11, and then go down and check the other one. And because it's Godleming checking it, if he checks and reveals that it's 11, everyone else is then able to move based on his new information. Probably wants to check this, see what it is. Ooh, interesting. Okay. Oh, a mob. Okay. Yeah, don't discard anything, just take the damage. That's actually a pretty good get, the 3-2. That will allow him to check quite a few things. 36 and 42, I think, just like in real life, really big train centers and give you a lot of movement. Certain locations, what is he doing? He's trading excellent weather, sense of emergency. See, this makes sense because Van Helsing is full up on events, and you don't want to be full up on events. I don't think Heroic Leap makes sense here, though. Okay. Yeah, I don't know why I wouldn't have done Heroic Leap. You want to save those kind of cards for when a combat is going to happen, especially when you have Speedy Telegraph. Okay, alright, so he stood in place and fed. That makes sense. Especially since Rufus Smith is in play, because attrition is going to be a little bit against him, and he's going to want to stay on land or go to the ocean and take damage. By healing, it really opens up more of his options of going to sea. And really, you can get rid of it. Well, this is... So... Yeah, this is actually a hard choice. And I can understand it either way. Yeah, he's like, I'm in a situation. I can check some of these locations with stakes. I don't think he has Vampire Lair. And he has, like, a good card. Okay, this might actually reveal something. Okay, it did. That actually provides decent value. It lets him know he didn't double back or go to 60 or go to 24. Yeah, and he's double checking. Yeah. So this actually, he should reveal, like, oh, I know it didn't go here. I know it didn't go in this other place. So he can, yeah. When you're given information like this and no information is given to you, that is information. It's actually very useful information. And also, local rumors would reveal like an ocean space, and that's something a lot of people get wrong in the physical game. Is that ocean spaces are adjacent to cities, and something like local rumors, yes, you listen like, hey, I saw this boat that had these evil storm clouds over it over here. Like, aha, that's Dracula. There he is. And you can use local rumors to reveal ocean spaces. That's totally a thing the card can do. She's still stuck in fog, right? Yeah. So don't. No, I would use her for the search. The search here is actually pretty useful. I would not swap for Rufus. Yeah, I would do the search, and I would search. I think 49. Yeah. Is that what says good is 49? I think that says good. Yeah. Either that or 11, but definitely 49 because it's the furthest location, and you want to check the furthest ones. Why didn't Godleming move? Huh. Maybe he wanted to avoid a 1v1? See, this is why having Heroic Leap on Van Helsing would have been so good, because then it's like, oh, I can get into a one-on-one with Godleming, and that's fine, because if that happens, then on Van Helsing's turn, I can trade him either the Planned Ambush or the Heroic Leap, and then he can use that card to really help him in that 1v1. Or get out of it in the case of a Heroic Leap, or an Escape Route. If it's like, man, I really don't want to do a 1v1 fight because I don't want him escaping as bad again, then you can trade him an Escape Route, and then he can get out of it. And by having it on Van Helsing, it doesn't matter if it's Godleming or Seward who gets into that 1v1, you can help them out either way. Or Van Helsing, for that matter, because he obviously has the cards. Really, it's only Mina. Which makes her the, more vulnerable character, which is the point, because that's what she was in the book. Dracula was specifically trying to attack Mina. As the more vulnerable person to attack, and and they simulate that in this game in that way. They simulate it, I think, maybe a little better in second edition because there was more incentive. You could have a better early fight in that game and get a lot of value because the points that you got for killing a hunter was the same regardless of when it was done. So killing a hunter early just as good as killing a hunter late. They changed that in third edition to what we have now, where it's based on scale. Wait, didn't he check 49? Wait, he checked Sezged. What? Why didn't you check? You should have checked 40. Oh, well, okay. Yeah, no, he should, unless the rail will actually get him where he wants to go, he should definitely, do that. That makes sense. Yep, that is one of the furthest parts of the net. And the local rumors revealed 24 and 60, so he's narrowing it down. 21 is going to need to be another one, which I think he can check here. Although 30 is also one he's going to need to check. Okay. So that's good. I would have Mina move up to, I think, 57 would be pretty good, because that gives her quite a few options in terms of ability to move. She's got decent items, and she has a planned ambush. Oh, yeah. I'm not afraid of Mina at all in this circumstance. Although you do want to take care of whatever that encounter is that's 2 spaces away from revealing. Which I think has to be this one, yes. So, reasonably well set up for dealing with this. If it is a fighty vampire, you might need to worry about that a little bit. Although there's no rumor token on it, so if it's a hoax, excellent. You can just get rid of the hoax. He's going to want to probably rest here, yeah. The horse economy is looking reasonably good. He probably wants to try to improve it here. In fact, I would do that. I would discard the 3-2, even though the 3-2 is theoretically really good. Given his current location, given distance isn't really what he wants at the moment. Well, not northward distance. So the 3-2 would be really good if he was trying to go north. Like if he's trying to get to 27. It would be reasonably good. But did he pass? Oh, no, he shouldn't have done that. He should have traded the 3-2. See, he's holding on to it because he's thinking, oh, I actually might really want to use the 3-2 because it's a good card. Well, it's a good ticket. Theoretically, it's not actually that good in this circumstances. Your horses are actually much, much better. Like, for example, if Seward were trying to go west, horses are way faster using horses than trying to use a ticket. And so discarding that ticket and trying to make it better is a better use of your movement management, which, again, this game is a whole lot about movement management. It doesn't do you any good if you know where Dracula is if you can't get to Dracula. And I think a lot of people are actually pretty good at the deductive part of the game, because it makes sense. It's intuitive. When you understand how Dracula moves, you can figure that part out really well, and it's actually pretty fun too. Figuring out the movement is a lot harder, and that's why I harp on it a lot, because it's, I think, one of the things that newer players have the most trouble with. Newer players also have a lot of trouble with the combat system, and that's why I made an entire video on the combat system. Maybe I need to make an entire video on movement, just for the hunters. I think that might be worth doing. I mean, I've talked a lot about movement in my videos, so I'm not sure how I would. Maybe I would. I don't know. I'll think about it. Yeah, drawing the 1 here. That's actually pretty bad. Because he really wanted to go to 11 and check that. Going to 6 is the right choice, because Dracula could theoretically be there. And when Dracula is presumably discovered, you need to go to 21, not to 9. No! No, don't do it. Don't do it. He can't. Yeah, no. You want to go to 21, and then at least know if he's in that neighborhood. And then once you have that information, then you can start moving people around. And you need to do that fast. Don't go to move to 9. Okay. See, if he had gone to 21 first, then he could have railed with Van Helsing to reveal further information. 41's a pretty good check, because you could have doubled back on there, and it's just good. It's just good distance. Yeah. So he'll want to heal. Yeah, you're tempted to want to get a ticket here, but no, it's actually faster for him to use horses to go west. Yeah, the rails in Eastern Europe are just really bad. Not just because you only move 2 spaces, but because going by rail is actually still slower if you're trying to go for full distance. The Orient Express, which is 53 to 10, I think is the name of that railway, that's specifically fast, but even then, if, say, you're trying to get from 10 to 38, horses will get you there in 2 turns. Rails actually don't even get there in 2 turns. You go to 11 in the first turn, and then you get to 57, which I guess is adjacent to it, in the second turn, which I suppose if you're trying to go west, both are equally speed. But, yeah, horses, very important in Eastern Europe. Okay, so we're trading for... Yeah, trading Sense of Emergency to Godalming, I understand it for a couple reasons. One, it's making it where they both have a slot to get a new ticket in the event that they want a day supply, which I think is a good idea. But he's going back on it. See, I don't know about that. So the other argument for having it go to Van Helsing is Van Helsing's actually near Dracula, and he actually might be able to use it to get to Dracula. Okay, that makes sense. I think Godalming's closer than you think. He might be giving up Godalming for loss, which you don't want to do. Never underestimate just how fast people can move. The hunters can move in this game. They can move really, really fast. 1 turn, if he gets a good horse, he gets to 59. From 59, with Sense of Emergency, he could get to 51. He could get to 24. He could get all the way up to 30. He could get all the way up to 7. Now, Dracula's not there. It would probably be 2 turns of him moving, once he gets to 60, and then he actually can basically hit anywhere. But that's faster than you think, because horses, 2 movements, that's twice as fast as Dracula can move. That's really big. That's huge, and the game is kind of balanced around that fact. Hunters can move twice as fast as Dracula pretty reliably if you do it right. Okay, he's gone to C, which I think you can math out to determine. Let's see, 21, 2 spaces away, so he either went to 27 or 1. Okay, which is useful information. Yeah, clear up the trails. You don't want to overcommit here. You probably, at this point, want to consider sending somebody to England just to sort of head him off and keep him from doing that. This move... Yeah, that makes sense. Although, Dracula could go all the way around and then go to the Ionian. Although, it's unlikely because he he would take so much damage from Rufus Smith. So because of that, you can definitely commit more with Godleming moving to where you need to go. Saboteurs, no problem. Yeah, just become delayed, lose your day action, and don't worry about it. A random roadblock, not going to be any sort of problem. The move here, man, I don't know. I guess this does reveal information. Okay, so now we know that he went to 16 and then he went to 27. Which is useful information. Okay, he's doing the math on if he wants to do a night supply. He might want to. He might want to do the night supply. I don't know. I don't think he's desperate right now, but I wouldn't. I would do it if you really needed items. Like if Mina needed an item right now, I could see her doing it. Or if Seward needed an item right now, I could see him doing it. But we're going to get some day actions in. I do think it is important to send someone to England. So generally you don't want to preemptively move. Oh, yeah, bad draw. Generally you don't want to preemptively move. The exception to that is with England. Because Dracula can outrun you if he starts getting into England before you can get to him, and that is because Dracula moves just as fast at sea as you do, unless you have excellent weather. Now, in this case, they do have excellent weather on somebody, so he's probably not that scared, but it is something to always think about. So Mina has it in this case. Now, Dracula knows that Mina has it if Dracula's paying attention, which Dracula should always pay attention. Because of that... well, because of that, he probably won't go to England, although he might. That's the great thing about the circumstance that Dracula's in. He could go to England or he could not. Gives him a lot of options. You really want to be careful how you position the hunters, or if you do at all. Okay, so he's done another ocean move. So either in the English Channel or the North Atlantic. I would move Seward down to 29. Or move him to the North Sea. Everyone else, maybe the exception of Godleming. I understand the Godleming move here, but yeah, with the other two, Mina and Van Helsing, I think it makes sense to grab tickets and stuff. Although... maybe you can... well, no, but grabbing tickets is so good. See, I don't know. I would have... 42 is fine. It's just as good as 29. Now, no, I don't think I would have done that. Oh, well, oh, no, never mind. He's trying to clear stuff, so that... never mind. Yeah, that's a good move. Going to 27, yeah. Especially since she has excellent weather. Yeah, now your hunters are in a position where you definitely want to start... doing supply actions. Because now they're sort of equidistant to where Dracula can land. Especially Mina. I mean, Dracula could overcommit and go super west, but if he does, you'll be able to pick that up in the trail. Because he started in the North Sea, his ability to circle back is actually limited pretty significantly. Unless he goes to, like, Irish Sea and then lands in England. Which actually also still limits him quite a bit. Okay, so we'll see how this goes. Mina has a knife and a garlic, which is pretty good. I would actually go punch here. Because you don't want to get mesmerized, just because damage is hard to do. And you also don't want to just reveal to Dracula, here's what my cards are. I'll play each one right after another. Now you know what I have. And it's not like this is getting a killing blow. One thing that is good to do as hunters, you don't necessarily always have to do this, and obviously if this plays off well, it'll work well, but one thing, you want to try to have your final reveal of what your card is be the card that kills the vampire. If Mina plays the knife here, and the Reckless Vampire played Fangs, that would not kill the Reckless Vampire, so it's not that killing blow. You always want to try to save something for the back pocket. Yeah, even knowing that it was Claws, I still think punch would have been the better play. Because then that gets him into killable range when Dracula doesn't know what Mina has. Now, you'd be saying, oh, but this did more damage. Well, yeah, but a full health vampire and a vampire at 1 health, that's like a 20% better situation. A dead vampire, And a vampire at 1 health, that's like an 100% better, 80% better situation, if that's making sense. That the final hit point is the most important hit point. 80% of the value of the vampire comes in the final hit point. Doing incremental damage in the other ways, not huge. See, now he's trying to punch. See, I would reverse that personally. Um, the punch makes sense here. Because, let's say the Reckless Vampire bites. If he does, the Reckless Vampire is still killable by both of uh, the Hunter's cards. Even if he later gets mesmerized, the Vampire is still killable by both cards, because the knife -1 damage does 2 damage, which would kill him. And the reason for that is the Reckless Vampire would heal for 2, that gets him to 3, then he takes the punch damage, that gets him down to 2. And the Garlic obviously does 2 damage. It's unaffected by Mesmerize because it's not a weapon. So the Reckless Vampire probably has a bad hand, and he's trying to decide what to do here. And he's thinking, okay, I know he has Garlic, which he can use. He used the knife, and I know he has the horse, so I know everything that he has. What is he probably doing here? And he's probably thinking that he's punching, and maybe he doesn't have... Yeah, he probably did not have the necessary card to counter punch. And so he's like, okay, well, I don't have anything that's good against punch, so on the off chance that he's not punching, maybe he's using Garlic, I will use Plotting, because Plotting is good against Garlic. Totally makes sense. Sometimes you just don't draw what you want as Dracula, and the game is designed around that. That's why they give you so many different vampires. You can win by, like... Honestly, when you win as Dracula, you're going to mature, like, a vampire, 2 vampires. You're given 8 vampires. So, and there are 3 stakes in the game. Or is it 4? It's 3 or 4. So the point is, you're going to get into a lot of fights, and they're not all going to work out for you. Of course, there's only, 5 actual fighty vampires. So yeah, now the Hunters are in a pretty good location. They've cleaned up all of the encounters. Dracula's at the sea. Rufus Smith is in play. Now, I'm a little worried about England. If he doesn't do his math right, he's going to have some trouble with the England situation. And he's got a whole other week before Dracula lands. And Dracula only has 1 point. So, Hunter's reasonably good situation right here. You need to worry about England. And that's why I would have moved Jonathan to 29. And I actually would have landed with Jonathan in 29 and then start checking things. And then you hold Mina in reserve, and if it's revealed, oh look, he actually did go to England, then Mina can immediately jump to England and clear off an escape to 19, and then you can have Seward deal with them. Because often you're going to get into one-on-ones because you only want to commit one person to England, obviously. But Seward is the best in a one-on-one. I mean, look at him now. He's got a knife. He's got a Heavenly Host. He's got a gun. And he has a planned ambush. Oh, boy. And against a Dracula who's taking a lot of damage, no wolf form. Interesting. Okay, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 possible locations that Dracula could be. This is when, if he was at 29, that would have been really good. I might immediately move with Mina to 19. That might be a good idea. And then you move with Seward to 29. See, that rail doesn't do a whole lot. Just because England is such... Yeah, man, he really should have moved Seward to 29. You really need to think about... Because with England, if you can get in front of Dracula, Dracula's just dead. He's just so dead in that circumstance because England is so claustrophobic. But if Dracula can get in front of the Hunters and leave England right as the Hunters are landing, oh my gosh, it's the best possible circumstance. Now in this circumstance, it's not quite as good because Rufus Smith is in play, and Dracula's going to burn a lot of hit points doing that. So I think it's likely that he maybe went to 39, if I were to guess. But, maybe he didn't. It's a guessing game. It's based on strategy. It's entirely subjective. I would have railed there. Gone to 42. I don't know what he's doing. Oh, the rail is shut down because it's a Saboteur. That's why. Oh, no. No. I understand you want to scan. But... he's asking... No. That's a good place for the roadblock because a rail would have been. He wanted to use the rail to go to 42 because that's what I would have done. Um, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So there's 13. Ooh. I would do some night supplies. I mean, not here, but like theoretically, I would do some night supplies because the ratios are really in his favor. Yeah, it's the only one without fast horses. Oh, that feels bad. Feels bad. Although since he only moved one space, blocking the road wouldn't have actually done anything because he could have just used a ticket. So I think I honestly think he did the better move. I would supply here. Yeah, I would supply, but this is fine. Uh, what do you want to trade? Okay. I guess it's. I mean, if you have nothing better to do, you might as well trade just to get into Dracula's head. Um, and I would have traded items so that you reveal the horse and not have the garlic face up. Isn't it Gallia? Yeah. No. You really should have moved to 19 with Mina. Or have moved to 29 with Seward so that he can start moving into England. You really have to. So normally, when it involves ocean movement, I'm always like stay in place and just supply. If it's possible that Dracula can go to England, like in the next 3 moves, so not Tyrrhenian, not Mediterranean. Basically, if he's not in the Mediterranean or anywhere east of the Mediterranean, don't worry about England. If he is west of the Mediterranean, South Atlantic, North Atlantic, Irish Sea, English Channel, North Sea, and he's not like leaving England, you probably want to send someone, if not to England, adjacent to the English Channel or the North Sea, because you really have to head Dracula off in England. Um, because Dracula will outrun you at sea. Even with excellent weather, Dracula will outrun you at sea because you have to find Dracula and you have to catch Dracula. And when you move into ocean spaces with Dracula, you don't reveal the location. So the movement is actually far less efficient than it is on land for the hunters. That's a thing that Dracula gains at sea, but it's only really a problem if Dracula goes to England. And so if hunters preemptively prepare to go to England or go to England, there's a reason why you start someone in England. Then if Dracula does that, then if the hunters do that, then they can account for it. And yeah, it means probably sending one of your hunters on a wild goose chase. That's not the end of the world. I mean, if half of your hunters go on wild goose chases and you only catch Dracula with 2 hunters, you win the game. So if one goes on a wild goose chase, that's fine. And when Dracula's going at sea and one's going on the wild goose chase and the others are actually able to account for Dracula's actual location, that's real good. So yeah, trading the heroic leap makes sense because Mina has the excellent weather, so she's going to be the one to go in and actually hit him. So where could he be? Well, he could be in the North Atlantic. Or no, he could be in Ireland. That would be really bad for Dracula if he's in Ireland. If it's handled properly. Because what is supposed to happen, or what should be done, is once Dracula's in Ireland, it's like, oh, okay, everybody move to England. You have to go to England. We catch you when you land. And then you die. Yeah, because Mr. X off cooldown. Feeds, actually. Oh, no, feed. Yeah, so he could... If... And yeah, that's what you're supposed to do. So we'll see what goes on. Given the thumbnail, I think I know what's about to happen. And this is not based on my information, but I think, given the thumbnail, Dracula's in 23, and there are 2 vampires sitting there. Which should actually be a pretty decent situation. Oh, just 1. Huh. Okay. Well, this seems actually very good for the hunters. Yeah, because what he wants to do now, you want to have Seward. Um, well, it doesn't really matter what Seward does. You want to have everyone just make a beeline for England, especially me now. You want to have them use excellent weather right now. Don't move to North Atlantic. Don't move to the North Atlantic. Don't move to the North Atlantic. Do not move to the North Atlantic. A lot of people do this. You're not trying to chase Dracula, you're trying to head Dracula off. You can't move back to the North Atlantic. So, he'll have to go into England, use excellent weather, go to Edinburgh, which I think is 19. Yes, 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 yes. Don't go to. What are you doing? Well, okay, maybe he's thinking, oh, I don't need to use excellent weather. I can just do a normal North Sea move, because by the time I'm in position, Dracula won't have been there by now. I think it's still better to go to North Atlantic. Yeah, go to 19. Yes, okay, correct move. Very good. And then I would have Godleman go to the English Channel, and I would hold Van Helsing in reserve. You want to hold somebody in reserve, because Dracula could escape. He does have wolf form. Like, for example, Dracula could, and there's a few ways that he could do that. Dracula could go to the Irish Sea, and then because he has wolf form, he could wolf form back to 23. But yeah, and yeah, I would have Seward stay in place. Although I can understand an argument, because I think what's about to happen is Dracula's going to hide here, and then Seward's going to move in based on the thumbnail. I can totally understand doing either move. But yeah, what you want to do is set up the blockade. This happens a lot with Dracula. As they go to Ireland, they think it's a really good move. Sometimes it is. Sometimes you can make Ireland work. But if the hunters are on their game, they can block off and set up. So Dracula has to move to England to deal with them. With using all of your powers and a little bit of hijinks, I think it is actually possible to do circles in Ireland. But only if you're in a situation that you're not in right now, where like there isn't somebody there that's able to immediately move to your location. And I think it'd be totally fine for Seward to try to fight Dracula, even if he had two vampires protecting him. Because he's got a lot of stuff, a lot of good cards, and he has a planned ambush, so it's a good situation. Wasn't Godleming already in? Oh, now is his turn. Yeah, Godleming should go to the English Channel. Godleming should go to the English Channel, no question. Yeah. Now, he's delayed. Now, I would supply here. Yeah, I know. Yes, hey, look, he's doing the things that I think he should be doing. 2 garlics I don't think you need. Yeah, I have. Yeah, go for it. I would trade the garlic for the gun, especially on Van Helsing because he's so forewarned, very good, because he's so weak. Sorry, I've been watching a lot of Uncle Roger videos, so that's where that "so weak" line came from. So if for some reason I start speaking in a bad Asian accent, don't blame me. I mean, you can if you want to, but blame all the videos I've been watching. Getting that Mystic Research would be nice. That's really good right now as like a backup thing. And it totally gives Van Helsing something to do while he's being held in reserve. It's very important to understand the power of holding things in reserve in this game. Yeah, I would trade for the Mystic Research. Looks like that's what he's going to do. And I would trade for one of those combat cards. Mina doesn't need both. She absolutely does not need both. I mean, what are you going to do? Play Planned Ambush and Heroic Leap? No. Are you expecting Mina to get in 2 one-on-ones? I mean, maybe she will, but it's pretty unlikely. Yeah, I would trade. Yeah, okay. So he's grab the plan heroic. Okay, either one. And yeah, I can totally understand wanting to get the sense of emergency. Yeah, give her the good luck. No, you want the heroic leap. Give her the good luck. Doesn't matter who has heroic. No, she doesn't need 2 combat cards. You don't need 2. So Planned Ambush and Heroic Leap both help you in one-on-one situations. Maybe he thinks that she will actually get into 2 one-on-ones, and maybe she will. I don't really think that's the case because, I mean, you have 2 hunters in position. And you might want to trade one of those things to Godleming or Seward, or if the board state changes and it really does look like Mina is going to get into another one-on-one, well, since Van Helsing's being held in reserve, he can use his day action to trade to Mina. Now, you do have to predict that because Mina moves after Van Helsing, but I still think it makes sense. Yeah, it's like two planned ambushes, planned ambush and heroic leap. Um, it's a situation you want to rectify if you have the actions for it, and he does have the actions for it. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I see. Yes. So this is the situation where it is theoretically possible for um, Dracula to do donuts, to go in circles, and it would involve him going to the Irish Sea, and then he would be able to go to the North Sea. So because of that, I actually maybe don't land, or maybe do. I can understand both. This makes sense to me. You know, he's going to fight, I think, what's going to end up being two vampires. He has a planned ambush. He has a heavenly host. He has a knife, and he has a gun. That's all really good. Don't use the planned ambush. I would save the planned ambush for the Dracula fight. You want to run away from this. You don't want to stay and do this fight. You do not want to stay and do this fight. Yeah, just try to run away. Yeah, you just wanna run away. The actual Dracula fight is what you want to save your stuff for, because he's got good items, and he can deal with that. So yeah, at this point, you might actually want to move Mina to the North Atlantic, because you don't want him doing the donut situation. Okay, all right, so pretty good. Dracula gets a point. You get out, only took 2 damage. Perfectly fine. So we'll see what the second thing, and I think it's another vampire, is. I think it's a new vampire, actually, if I read the thing. Yeah, new vampire. Okay, don't play the planned ambush. Correct. Although I could see an argument for playing it in the second one. But yeah, I understand holding it in reserve. I would escape. Or there's an argument for punch. Don't do knife. You don't want to give Dracula free information. These vampires are not going to be a problem. You're probably going to let one of them mature, and that's whatever. Just escape. Yeah, don't overthink it. Just escape. So we'll see how much damage Seward takes here. Okay, alright, Mesmerize. Classic. If he had a pistol, now would be a good time to play it, because you're really trying to avoid getting the plotting out, or Dracula playing plotting. He doesn't have a pistol, so punch you really want to do. I would not play knife. Maybe dodge. Dodge is the surprise play, because usually you always punch. Definitely would not play rifle. Definitely would not play rifle. Yeah, under no circumstances, I think, unless I was just trying to be cheeky, would I play rifle there. I mean, if he had heavenly holy bullets, I would still not play rifle. Because he's trying to get out of this and get into the Dracula fight in the best possible situation. So he'll probably take 2 damage here, unless Dracula's going for the plotting, and he is going for the plotting, so he played the correct thing. So everything's going right right now. None of that. Yeah. Because that would have forced him to stay in the fight, and not only would it have forced him to stay in the fight, it also could have kept him from dodging. Because that's generally the other thing. Is if I'm wanting to stay in the fight, then dodge becomes a really important move. But plotting can cancel dodge just as well as it can cancel the escape. So yeah, he's doing the standard thing, the escaping and punching, which occasionally you want to mix up occasionally with a dodge to try to reduce damage. He'll probably take an additional 2 damage here. In the event that he gets mesmerized again here, the general go-to thing is to either dodge or use one of your weapons at that point, because by the time your dodge... Okay, yeah, so at this point, by the time he gets the ability to escape again, the round will just be over because it went too long. So now you want to start playing as if you're wanting to survive, as if you're wanting to just not take damage. So the dodge is the obvious thing, actually. And of course the counter to that is plotting, and so a punch is also just as good. And then the other idea is that maybe you want to do a weapon, although I think a dodge is a better move, because, okay, let's say plotting goes off, and it's like, okay, then I just have 2 moves to do. I'll play both my weapons, and there's a decent chance I cancel Dracula's damage ability there. And then at the most I take 2 more damage. And yeah, Vampire encounters do 2 to 4 damage, and sometimes you take 2 damage, like we saw in the last one, and sometimes you take 4 damage, which is what we'll probably see here. And yeah, that's the odds. So we will see. Yeah, the dodge is... Now the Dracula player is probably doing the math and figuring out, aha, the dodge is a better move. Now if plotting does go off here, a pretty good move... Okay, yeah, the plotting is going off. A pretty good move now is to actually, because we had 2 mesmerizes, if he escapes, Dracula's kind of forced to use his plotting to keep him from escaping, and then he just dodges. And then again, most he takes is 2 damage. That's actually the correct play here. He actually wants to escape, and then, when the plotting is used to take care of his escape, then he dodges. And again, most damage he takes is 2. Now, he's been mesmerized, but it's daytime, so getting bit doesn't do anything. Yeah, so you actually don't want to play a weapon here, because it's actually... Now, the argument for playing a weapon is, oh, I'm going to play my knife, so Dracula will know that I have a knife, so he's less likely to go fangs. That actually... Punch is literally the worst move he could do here. That's actually a bad move, because you have planned ambush, so you don't need to do that. Yeah, punch is... I don't know why he played punch. Yeah, of his options, that was the worst one. He didn't even need to use his plotting to cancel the punch, because strength cancels it anyway. Oh my gosh. Maybe that's probably what the video is representing, is playing that punch. That is not what he wanted to do. Knife makes sense here. I would play knife. Because he's revealed the strength. He might go fangs. You want to reveal the knife because you want to make it less likely for him to play fangs, although you have planned ambush, so you don't actually need to do that obfuscation. So maybe play the rifle, because the knife is better to keep hidden than the rifle. Overall, yeah, he should have done the escape. But yeah, it's basically just a bet here. Is he going to go fangs, or is he going to go claws? We'll see. And he went strength. Okay. Yeah. And that's the, quote-unquote correct move. But yeah, in case you're wondering, if your second escape is mesmerized, you want to go into a sort of a dodge style right there. And in the event that the second dodge gets plottinged, you want to escape into a dodge. But yeah, maybe don't sometimes, because you can use items to sort of get out of that situation. But yeah, this was bad because he took 6 damage, which is not... Really, if you play your cards right, like what I just said, you're not going to take 6 damage. You're going to take 4 damage. Unless something really crazy happens. No, I don't think there's a circumstance where you take 6 damage if you play it that way, even if Dracula gets all the best cards. Correct me if I'm wrong. This is also, assuming a day fight, which this would be. So this actually makes sense. Normally, you might think, why is he doing this a daytimer? So he's actually wanted to do this to really help out Seward. Although, it doesn't really need to be done. Yeah, so I would move Godleming. Well, so the problem is if they move to the ocean, and he goes to the ocean, and they move to another ocean. Yeah, no, you wouldn't do it. You want to supply this turn? What you want to do is when Dracula moves to the ocean, you both move to the ocean. And then if he stays at the ocean, then they're able to move again and account for his new possible locations. Yeah, that's what you want to do. So you actually don't want to go to the ocean now. You want to just do a normal supply. Although what you really want to do is have had Van Helsing be holding on to Heroic Leap, and then maybe trade that, and then have Seward die. But, that's 4 health. He does have a planned ambush, so maybe not that big of a deal. That makes sense, although he needs to understand that Dracula can go to the sea and then go back to the North Atlantic. Okay, so we got a fight here. It's going to have a planned ambush. We'll see how this goes. Punch is the correct play here because you're just going to use planned ambush to switch to... Actually, it doesn't matter. Pick literally any basic card. And then whatever Dracula plays, he's going to switch to the thing he actually wants to play. So yeah, any basic card. Just pick one. You have planned ambush. And the reason you want to pick a basic card is that you don't want to give Dracula free information. Like, let's say he plays the knife, and it's like, oh, he played strength, so I'll switch to the Heavenly Host. Well, now you've given him the information that he has a knife. Pick a basic card, and then Dracula knows you have the 3 basic cards, so revealing the basic card and then switching to the thing you actually want. It doesn't matter. It doesn't give Dracula any free information. So he's doing the right thing here. He picked a basic card. So Dracula's probably looking into his hand and being like, okay, well, this is tricky because he has a planned ambush. What's the best thing to play during a planned ambush? Things make sense. Plotting makes sense. Okay, this is interesting. So he obviously does want to switch. Heavenly Host, I think, is the best play. Or Punch. Or Escape. Escape isn't actually a bad move. Just because Seward's in such a damaged situation, I can understand the Heavenly Host. I think I might actually Escape. Escape, or Punch, or Heavenly Host. Those are the 3 good options. No, Punch, I think. Yeah, Punch might be good. I wouldn't go Knife. Would not go Knife. Don't play the knife. You don't want to do the knife. Yeah, it's a hard choice. I can understand his dilemma here. Yeah, I think Punch into a dodge as a second play to try to eat up some of his better cards because he's trying to avoid the kill. Man, Great Strength would be so great right now. Yeah, this is an interesting situation. Like, he obviously has the tools. That 2 extra damage that he took from the new vampire was a huge problem. If he was at 5 health, man, he would just be sitting pretty so good right now. He would be in such a great situation. I wasn't even paying attention. Okay, Escape. Yeah, I understand it. Totally makes sense. Yeah, totally a difficult decision. I could easily see the argument for all 3. Absolutely makes sense. So, yeah, now he needs to decide what the heck he's going to do. He's probably going to pass with Godleming. And yeah, that makes sense. Now, what Dracula's probably going to do, if I was Dracula, I would misdirect Galway and then move to it. And then by the time he gets there, then he can escape to the North Atlantic. And then in the event that that's done, I would have had Heroic Leap on Van Helsing. I would have traded Heroic Leap to Seward, and then Seward would heal here. And then I think I would have Seward faceplant into Dracula and get the kill, or not the kill. He would just do damage because doing the damage would limit his. Lucky find. It would mess with Dracula, and that's what you want to do. Yeah. And when Dracula does that move, Mina needs to go to C. Godwing needs to go to C. Van Helsing's gonna chill. Alternatively, with Mina, you send her to 19 because it's actually faster to go there to get to the North Sea than it is to go Irish Sea, North Atlantic, North Sea. Yeah, in fact, going to 19 actually is a better move. And it looks like he's doing what I'm saying. He's misdirecting Galway and he's moving to Galway. Okay, so now Seward. You could do the thing I was talking about. I don't know. Irish Sea makes sense to me here. I think you go Irish Sea and just let the vampire mature because what even is in it's a reckless one, right? That's gonna get him to 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Yeah, that's 2 turns on land that you get to deal with him at. No, you didn't know. You don't want to supply. You need to go to the English Channel. Don't. Oh, no. No, Godleming. You need to go to the English Channel. You have to be able to cut off Dracula. Oh, dear. Oh dear. Okay. Yeah. Ooh, this. Um. So resting is not the worst move. I still think moving to the Irish Sea is a better move. You could search and try to kill the vampire in Dublin. That actually would provide tremendous value, and I think you could pull it off. And that's actually probably his best move. Mm, I can understand. Supplying is. I mean, I never say no to a day supply, but not really a great move there. Actually, think I might keep those bullets. Discard the garlic, just because I like the idea. Um, at this point in the game, the high damage, I think it could be good, but I understand it. You definitely want to move to 19 here. Irish Sea's fine, I guess. The problem is you're chasing at this point. Dracula moves to North Sea, Mina moves to North Sea. Dracula moves to South Atlantic, Mina moves to South Atlantic. But at that point, you don't know because you don't know where he is. It's not like he has Money Trail and he knows that he'll be able to uh, pinpoint his location. But even if he could pinpoint his location, you're just chasing Dracula at that point. You don't win the game by chasing Dracula. You win the game by catching Dracula, which you can't do if you're moving just as fast as he is. So you have to try to move in front of him, which is why moving to 19 is so important, and why it was so important for Godleming to move to the English Channel this turn, so that he could theoretically get ahead of Dracula. And if Dracula, say, went North Atlantic and then went south, then, okay, Godleming is going to have to chase, but then you can move Van Helsing ahead to head him off. And that's why you hold Van Helsing in reserve. I do think it was a better idea to try to kill the vampire in Dublin last turn. Although I think maybe what he's doing is he's waiting to do it, and he's going to do it this turn. Which is fine. It's fine. So yeah, this setup would be good if he had Money Trail, but I'm pretty sure he doesn't. Pretty sure he doesn't have Money Trail. And even if he did, it's not. Again, the movements that I previously specified needed to be done. So the question is, of course, does he go Irish Sea? Does he go first he's going to go to the ocean. He actually has to. Oh no, he could hide. No, hides on the trail. Yeah, he has to move to the North Atlantic. He can't wolf form. No. So he's going to go to the North Atlantic, and then what's going to happen? Well, it depends. Now, he could be way weaker if, say, we had proactively traded the Heroic Leap, or if Seward hadn't taken those 2 extra damage and actually stayed in and used some of his really good cards. I understand why he didn't in this circumstance, but that's because he took the unnecessary 2 extra damage when he fought the new vampire. So yeah, there's sort of like a flow chart when you're fighting vampires, and you can change that a little bit, and you should occasionally, but it's generally escape, punch, escape. If at that point you've been mesmerized again, then you dodge or use one of your items. If you dodge and they use plotting, then you do escape again. The plotting is used to cancel the escape. Since the plotting has been used, then you dodge and don't take the damage. Hope that makes sense. If it doesn't, I mean, that's on you, I'm going to say. Maybe I could have described it better, but I didn't. Okay. Oh my gosh. What are you doing, Godleming? He's not going to be in England. You got places to be. You just retiring from vampire hunting in London? Is that what you're doing? He had he was already a turn behind by not going to the English Channel. Now he's still not going to the English Channel. I mean, you've got to take care of Dublin. No, you don't want to fight him at night. And he didn't even heal. You don't need Money Trail. I know you think you need Money Trail. You don't have to have Money Trail. Oh, max cylinders. I can understand. Understand discarding it. Yeah, obviously you have to go to the North Atlantic. No, you got to try to catch him with 2 hunters, man. So I understand why he's like, I got to hold Godling in reserve because I got to have somebody in England. No. Well, yes, but you already have Seward. Seward isn't going to be able to get in front of Dracula. So because of that, have Seward be your person that you hold in reserve. Ooh, consecrated ground. Very good. That'll be useful. You got to search. Don't let him mature that vampire. Don't let him do it. Don't give him free points. You have Seward has all of these weapons. He can totally kill a reckless vampire. He's got the Heavenly Host. He's got the knife. Now, you should have done this in daytime. Doing it at nighttime actually very risky. But he didn't. Now, if he, because of this, the reckless vampire won't get the ambush bonus, which is nice. Really should have done this in daytime. Should not have done it at night. Okay, I'm trying to remember which of these is the actual vampire he has to worry about. It's the new one, right? Should have clicked on it. He wants to fight the one that he wants to actually kill first. Yeah. Okay, I guess it's the new vampire. Oh, so it's only 3 points. So, I don't think I would open with the Heavenly Host here, although I might. But I wouldn't. Yeah, and I really would have done this in daytime. Oh boy, yeah, this is not a good fight. This is a rough fight. I mean, any of his items are good, or the punch. It's really hard because a claws would be really bad. A fangs against a heavenly host would be really, really bad. Although I think it's most likely that he does a strength play here, so in that sense, a dodge would be good. The reckless is the high. Oh yeah, so you can actually click on the locations to see. Which, if he wasn't sure, he should have done that ahead of time. And you can see what encounters are there. Punch. Okay. All right. Yeah. It's such a bad when you're in a situation where it's like, well, any of these could be good. That's actually a bad situation to be in, because it means you don't really have a plan of attack. You want to have a plan of attack, and then you want to be able to have a variation on that plan of attack to try to make it unpredictable. But here, it's like, I don't know what Dracula's playing. I just have to sort of guess and pick the thing that isn't countered by it. And that's actually not what you want. And that's why it's so much better to fight in daytime than at nighttime. So, yeah, it's a rough situation. Yeah, and all he did was discard a card at the start. I mean, if you're gonna do a nothing play, you should have healed. And at least you could have come into this fight at full health. Discarding the Dracula card, I mean, I understand. I say day supply actions are really, really good, and they are. But in this circumstance, you have better things to do. And the idea is a day supply action is something that's good to do and you have nothing better to do. And a lot of times, hunters have nothing better to do. And you think you do, but you don't. Here, he absolutely had better things to do. Healing would have been better, but most importantly, searching in the daytime would have been better. Because claws become super powerful at night, especially for vampire fights, vampire encounter fights. Because in vampire encounter fights, you don't worry too much about the damage the vampire is taking, because you're kind of assuming that the vampire is going to die anyway. Or if you were going to do nothing, at least trade Lucky Find to him, so he has a decent chance of drawing a stake. Yeah, it's just a bad situation to be in, and yeah, it's a guesswork at this case. Dracula's play claws a little less, obviously because they're trying to mitigate damage. But vampire encounters do it quite a bit if it's night, and which is one of the reasons why you want to avoid doing it at night. The other thing to do a lot is fangs, but Draculas tend to do fangs just try to hit Heavenly Host. Draculas do fangs more than new vampires do. Obviously, reckless vampires do fangs quite a bit. The new vampire doesn't worry too much about fangs in this circumstance because it's not like she gets a point out of it, and she doesn't. She's not afraid of Heavenly Host because a Heavenly Host wouldn't kill. Yeah, so this is just a bad situation. You have enough. You have enough counter. Why are you escaping? I guess he's just gonna want to give the points. Well, he's thinking, okay, if Seward dies, I'm giving him 7 points. If the new vampire dies, oh, yeah, that's rough. Dodge is a good card. That's all I'm gonna say, especially for fighting vampires. Opening with a dodge would have been good, but honestly, the best play would be fighting at night, where Claws does half the damage. Claws is one of the cards that is hurt the most by fighting in the daytime. Strength is hurt quite a bit by fighting in the daytime. Um, yeah, I would go for the Heavenly Host here. It's kind of your only play. Because like he thinks that you're going to dodge, so he might go plotting to try to stop that. Yeah, Heavenly Host is your only play here. Yeah, play the Heavenly Host. Although it's it's you're basically hoping that he doesn't play any damage card. Don't play the Escape. Although the Escape might work. But the good thing about Heavenly Host is that it wins against a Mesmerize or plotting. Escape only works against plotting. But yeah, hopefully this is teaching you why it's so. If you, especially in this sort of circumstance, where you know what's in the space, fight in day. Don't go at night, especially with two vampires. So yeah, either he has the card or not. This is based on luck. Um, if you move into a space, Dracula doesn't ambush, and then it becomes night. Obviously, you have to search at night. You don't want to waste time sticking around, and then yeah, you're gonna have a night fight. Um, and that can't really be avoided. But yeah, I think that's gonna be game. I think Dracula's. Yeah, I think that's gonna be game. Um, but yeah, in a other than that, in a situation like this where you revealed it early, you know what's in the space, and it's just going to happen. Yeah, that's game. Um, he won't win with this vampire, but he will win when he does the Fury of Dracula move. Um, and so I wouldn't say it was any one stupid decision. There was a couple. So the mess up with the new vampire, kind of a big deal. Not moving Godleming, big deal. Fighting at night instead of day, big deal. Those are all not huge mistakes, but all of those led up. They sort of built on each other. And yeah, that's how the game goes sometimes. Um, but you know, uh, like this game, like Twilight Imperium, it's the person who makes the least number of mistakes wins. But I will say it's more important for the hunters to not make mistakes than for Dracula not to make mistakes. And you could say that makes it harder for the hunters to play. I don't know about that. I don't know about that. I think that just reflects the fact that the hunters have the initiative and they're the ones who have to make the effort to win the game. See, he actually could have won if he just did a land move, so he's basically slow rolling at this point. But maybe he doesn't know that. Maybe he's not sure. And he's like, is it this turn or next turn that I get the 3 points? Well, it's this turn. So he's just playing it safe. I suppose that you could prolong it by trying to use a consecrated ground to keep him at sea another turn longer, but that won't actually win you the game. Although you can theoretically win the game in that situation. Like Dracula moves to the Ionian and then he moves to the Black Sea, and then you use consecrated ground to block off 17 and 56, so he can't move. You can actually that actually does 5 damage, and then and then he has to move to the Ionian, which does 1 or 2 more damage. And you can actually win doing that. It does 5 damage because he has no legal moves. Because when you have no legal moves, you clear down to 1 space on the trail. You discard all your Dracula cards, and then you have to make a move. And that doesn't count as a turn, clearing down to 1 trail. So all the consecrated ground tokens that were in place are still in place. And there's a few spaces on the board where if you put down 4 tokens, you can actually just kill Dracula because he literally has no legal moves. 26 is one of them, because if you put it on 12, 26, 1, 34, and Dracula's in 26, he has no legal moves, takes 5 damage. All of those are still in space. He still has no legal moves, he takes 5 damage. 20 is also a location. So you put it in 57, 25, 45, and 20. And then he has no legal moves. It goes down. 35 is another one. That's Edinburgh. It's Manchester, I think, that was 19. I get those mixed up. Sorry, as an American, I'm required to not understand English geography. The middle city in England. That's another place where you can checkmate Dracula by throwing down 4 cities. I don't think there's any more. Most places are connected to more than 3 cities, so it has to be a land location that is only connected to 3 cities by road. Oh, I guess 7. Wait, no, seven. Seven's connected to 4 cities. 44. Yeah, you could do it in 44. Now I want to think about all the things, but yeah, that's game. Um, I don't think any one of those mistakes are what torpedoed it, but all of them sort of building on top of each other got rid of the chance, and that's sad. But what are you going to do? What you're going to do is have Godspeed.